Hello all you crazy people out there, my name is Michael, I like wizards and dragons and making games. Welcome back to Making Games in Game Maker. So last time, we have some player stats, and the player has something resembling a save structure, and we will be today saving that to the file. Saving that to the disk every time you complete a level and loading it back in when you start the game, or at least attempting to. I will do some rudimentary error checking here. I'm going to close out of this. This hack and plan board, this is more or less what you see is what we're going to try and do here. Collectibles, I should probably move these back to the planned column because I did say I probably wasn't going to be doing those right now. But save data using JSON, load data, delete save data button, and also as part of loading data back in, I said I will be validating this. I don't care if someone like cheats and gives themselves a cumulative high score of like, I don't know, a really humongous number, or anything like that. I don't really care. This is a single player game. If you want to do that, go ahead. But if I do want the game to not crash when it loads in, and I do want the game to not crash when it tries to do something like add a number to the cumulative score, because if you, for whatever reason, set your cumulative score to like pi or something like that, then that's going to obviously be a problem. So this mostly, when you go to save your game, you can just literally serialize this as JSON. This is just a struct that doesn't have anything else in it. Nothing important or anything like that. So I will autosave every time you show the windscreen. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to say save JSON is going to be JSON stringify. And the value that we're going to stringify is just literally going to be the save data array. And that's going to, it will save all three of your save files at once, even though you're only going to be playing one at a time, obviously. But hopefully this will be inexpensive enough that it won't really be a problem. We will encode the JSON as this, and that shouldn't take like more than a millisecond or so, I hope. And then we can write this into a buffer. Said buffer create. The size, I'm going to make this a fixed size, string byte length of the save JSON, and that is going to be the number of bytes that the JSON will take up. Will that include the final, like, the null byte? I'll find out. The buffer type is going to be buffer fixed, and the alignment is going to be 1. Can't just say string length, because if there's anything in here that happens to be like non-ASCII, then that'll take multiple bytes because Unicode. Let me just check this real quick. F1 in the manual is going to tell me. It's not going to tell me if that includes the final backslash or not. Okay, thanks, GameMaker. Anyway, buffer right into the save buffer buffer text, and the save JSON can be the text, and then we can buffer save. The buffer in question can be save buffer. The file name can be. Do I have a macro for the save file name? Now I do. So we can write this buffer to the file that is just the save file name, and then buffer delete. I guess if you wanted to like save on the time of like reallocating the save buffer every time, make it a little faster. Again, this is probably going to be a micro optimization. We'll initialize that to a size, buffer grow. The alignment can be 1. And instead of trying to be smart about this, seek to the beginning, buffer seek start offset 0, and buffer right, and then we can just buffer save extended. The offset is going to be 0. The size is going to be buffer tell. This will also, and we won't have to delete it after that either, this will also save us the trouble of trying to like create the buffer to the exact size because we can just use the grow buffer now. If I went back in time like 3 minutes and asked my past self why I did it that way 3 minutes ago, I would probably have no idea. Anyway, let me try and beat the game, and I'm going to. And when we get to the levels clear screen, the game didn't crash, which is a good sign. I'm going to go back to menu. I'm just gonna quit out of here, and I'm going to open up Windows Explorer. Go to my my local storage, and we're gonna look inside LMAG bullet hell. There is a save.json, and is this going to contain the correct information? No, I do not want to update Notepad++, thank you. Yes, did I say yes? Okay, whatever. That'll only take a few seconds. Fine. Let's make a game, and also let's update Notepad++. Alright, I'm gonna do this in English. Yeah, I believe this is a GPL license. I know that not reading the terms and conditions is a bit of a meme, but the GPL license tends to be pretty much the same every time you read it. And this is the save JSON. Okay, so I see a lot of stuff that looks good. I'm gonna use a little handy dandy format JSON Notepad++ extension, and I'm going to look at this, and we're going to see that we have our high scores defined, 141 for room level 1. We have our cumulative score, our total stomp count, our total shots, our highest score multiplier as a bit of floating point fun. I love floating point fun. Total damage dealt, total damage taken, and so on and so forth. And then the other slots are just empty because we haven't done anything with them yet. All right, that's great. So I think that actually worked. I don't think there's many changes I've actually made here. Save player data. Let's see, loading that back in. This can be... I'm going to do this whole thing in a try-catch. And if anything goes wrong with loading the player save back in, we can just wipe it and erase it. And we'll try to account for simple things like, again, keys being missing from the save data, or the player entering something stupid in like their high score that will cause it to break. And we'll try to account for that without having to nuke the whole save structure and starting over. But if something dramatic happens, like if the file isn't found, or the file is actually a JPEG or something like that, we'll just nuke the whole thing and start over. We can say var load buffer is going to be buffer load. File name is going to be save file name. When we're done, we can delete the load buffer. Actually, that should go in the finally block, shouldn't it? Or we can just, honestly, I get some amount of satisfaction from using the finally block, which nobody does, which nobody ever like remembers is there. Let's see. If we try to load in our save file and nothing is there, we are just going to recreate the whole thing from scratch as established. As time goes on, I get more and more picky about using the self keyword. Let's say load JSON is going to be JSON parse buffer read from the load buffer. The type is going to be buffer text. And in the okay, so this is just an array. It's not a named array or anything. The JSON is just stored as an array. Okay. So let me initialize self.saveData. Okay, you know what? Forgot about something, which is that let's keep defining save data out here. If something goes wrong again, I'll just reset the whole thing. Instead of saying like new player save data all over the place in both parts of the try catch, I'm just gonna initialize it up here. I will reset it in the catch block if something goes wrong, and for var I equals 0, I is less than array length self.save data. And I won't use a fancy for loop here because this is literally just an array of size 3, I++. Self.save data index I dot, and we're gonna define a dot load method for player save data, and it's going to accept a JSON object. Load JSON is going to be an array, which was saved to the file and retrieved. Hopefully, again, if that goes wrong, then the player probably did something that broke the whole thing, and we're gonna reset it. Otherwise, we're gonna define ourselves a load method, and this is gonna take a let's call it a source JSON, right? And I don't think if you were to JSON stringify a struct that contains a method, I don't think methods will be serialized, but just in case, I will make load static so that it belongs to the function prototype, the struct prototype, instead of the instance, and therefore will not be serialized. Okay. So we can do some things such as if source dot cumulative score, if is real source dot cumulative score, and source dot cumulative score is greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0, then we can say self dot cumulative score is going to be equal to the source's cumulative score. The game won't break if you set your cumulative score to like negative something, but also, why? I guess, going on my principle, that if the player really wants to screw around with their save file and it won't break the game, then whatever, who cares? But why? And then we can do this with a bunch of the other things. Let me maximize this and let me full screen this. Also, I guess there's the matter of if a key has been removed from the save file, you don't want the whole thing to be deleted. You just want like the value to be defaulted. So we can use the struct accessor for this. So we have the cumulative score, we have our high score multiplier. Oh, you know what? Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say the null coalescence operator was kind of added for this, but I also want to validate the type, which you can't really do with the null coalescence operator. That would only check if the value exists, if it's not undefined. So we have that. Total stomps is another one. Total shots. I'm going to need to, can I automate this? No, I can't, because this is going to be something that isn't a numeric value. Alright, because I was going to say, if in the future I want to add more stats, it would be nice if I can update this load structure without, like, having to manually type out another line. I really can make this shorter. Alright, anyway, total shots, total damage dealt, total damage taken, total level cleared. This has not been implemented yet. I will implement that next because I'm going to need to eventually. And that's going to be it for the load. So if I were to run the game now, we shouldn't have a crash. We have nothing. Okay, what happened to our score multiplier? Highest score multiplier. We didn't save the high score yet. Boy, that really was some floating point insanity. We didn't save the level high scores yet, but the high score multiplier should be visible. Why is that? Oh, Notepad++'s JSON formatter must, like, truncate float values to, like, a certain number of decimal places. Or this, whoever made this plugin, it's not Notepad++. First, it would probably be ideal to actually show the message. And there's a couple things that could trigger this. One might be if, and I don't see an error out here, so that means that it did load, like it didn't... Oh, yes, I do. Really? I'm the actual worst at programming. Alright, we still don't have our high score. Oh, you know what? None of these other things would be drawn on the UI in the game, would they? Okay, well, you know what? Let's take this a couple steps at a time. And we can wait for Git to be slow. This isn't even a big project. I don't know why it's taking so long. Let's see. First, we will commit the load method. No, we won't. These are like... These go together. Player save. Did I already commit saving? I did commit saving. Load player save. One of the things that would cause this this try catch to be tripped would be just like if you run the game for the first time, because in that case you won't have a save.json. You could... Some people would make the argument that it's more correct to use like does file exist before trying to load the file, but to those people I say, honestly, get over yourselves. This is just... There are a number of things that could go wrong when you try to load a player save file, and the file not existing is just one of them. And I would rather just try and catch everything at once, because they're all going to result... All possible things that could go wrong are just going to result in the same thing anyway. But yeah, I'm going to bring this back because I'm probably going to want to do testing on it. We do have the high scores being serialized, and that's going to need to be loaded in a little bit differently, because that is going to be a like an inner structure. And if is struct source high score. Alright, so if the high score struct is a... I guess I could try catch this too for the same reason as before, in that there's like a number of things that could go wrong, and they're all going to result in just the high scores being, for a particular level that's broken, being reset or whatever. But whatever. Our keys is going to be, for each key in the high score struct, variable struct get names. For each key in the struct, we can do the same validation on it as before. First, I think I'll do like if asset get index keys index I, like if the key actually corresponds to a room, we'll update the high score. If not, we'll just like discard it, you know. This is gonna return is this gonna return a room asset type? We can say if room get name asset get index this equals keys index I. So if the key corresponds to a room, will room get name crash if you give it like undefined or something, or -1? Anyway, if is real source.high score array access are keys index I. So if the high score, next we're gonna check if it actually is a valid number. Then self.high score keys index I is going to be equal to this. Okay? This should work. I will check if Room get name will behave weirdly. Okay, so we have our high score being loaded. That's good. Can I just say show message room get name -1 just to make sure that it's gonna behave. All right, so that'll just return undefined as a string. My best practice is software engineering. Part of my brain is yelling at me. All right. If the room exists. Technically, this means that you could also have a high score attached to, like, the title screen or whatever, but we're gonna draw the line here. So if I were to open the save file and set the high score for the room level 1 to, like, 5 with a lot of zeros after, it should still work. If I were to run it again, and wow, I'm so good at this game. If I were to run this again and set it to, like, a string, and we should still be able to load the game, but it should be reset to nothing. There we go. All right. I'm gonna leave it at my real high score of 141. This is gonna be, like, overwritten anyway as I add more waves. But okay, so we have validation. And there's just one more thing I wanted to do here. Oh, I wanted the delete save data button. We can do that. We can, I think, go into the UI initialization, and in the title screen, can I hide all that? Thank you. On, I guess, like, the level select screen, I could put a delete save data button. What is down here? That's settings. Up here, I think is like collectibles. I think there might be one for, like, stats. What's the other one? Upgrades. All right, that's right. I didn't do that either yet. I'm going to have a delete save data button down here. Are any of these named? So we can have the delete save data button. We can say game controller.title screen is going to be, I'm going to add a new, like, the same way that we have, like, UI title quit, we're going to have, like, UI. Can I just duplicate this? I can control D duplicate a layer. UI delete save. And UI title delete save then. Let's see, let's hide this. Let us show this. We're going to have a text label. And that is not where that is. The text isn't here. Would you like to delete this save file? And we're going to have a yes and a no button. Which one is this? This is yes. This is no. Okay, the methods didn't get copied. Like, the creation code didn't get copied, but the text did. This is no. If you click no, you're going to go back. If you click no, you're going to go back to the level select. Yes hasn't been implemented yet. Let me just make sure that this is hooked up correctly. And we have something very wrong. Why is there, like, there's no creation code in there. Game Maker? Why do you do these things, Game Maker? Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. That's a full colon, not a semicolon. I don't know why the error was pointing to something else. That's very weird. But we can alright, we can do this now. So if save slot 1, or delete my save file, 1, I'm gonna want to put a line break in the middle of there. 2, It's not centered on the screen. Probably should be. I also feel like it looks very lonely. Like just in the, well, I guess the quit buzz, the quit UI isn't centered on the screen either. I might change that too. It looks very lonely. I feel like maybe it'll be better once there's an actual background to the title screen, but all right, whatever. I'm gonna put a line break in here, and variables. Would you like to delete new line to save file? That should be good. I'm also gonna move it up. To about there, and I think I will also move. I don't know if there was a reason that I have the quit button like not aligned either to the center, but I'm gonna move it up. All right, that also solves the problem of like your mouse being too close to the yes button when you say would you like to quit the game, start game. That's not a problem down here because the delete save button is all the way off in the corner. So if you say no, you go back to the previous screen. If you say yes, I'm just going to do a little bit of magic. We're going to first, because we don't actually track the index of the save file that you're in. We're just tracking a pointer to the struct of the active save data. So for var I equals 0, I is less than array length, and my font size got reset when I restarted GameMaker, apparently. len gth game controller dot save data. I should probably, you know what, game controller dot erase current save. I'm gonna make that a method, and that can go down here, I think. And lastly, when you hit yes, we will go back to the main title screen, I think. Would you want to go to the main title screen, or would you want to just go back to like the level select screen of the save file that is now empty? You can make an argument for it either way. Let me know in the comments what you think makes more sense. Anyway, the erase save data method is going to be here. I is less than that I plus plus. I can close out of the initialization room. If self.save data index I is going to equal self.active save data. One, break, stop searching. And two, self.save data index I is just going to be equal to a new player save data. I guess you could also use the erase search function for this, but alright, it's like 4 lines of code versus 2 lines of code. Alright, so we have our save data here. It's got a high score of 141. I'm going to, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm also going to move this self.save all. I'm going to make that a method. And that's going to just go here. And I can now call the save all method when I'm done erasing the save data, so that you don't have to, like, if you erased your save data and then didn't finish a level before you quit the game and started again, the changes would not be preserved on the disk because the changes would never have been saved because they were previously only saved when you finish a level. But we can make the changes save when you quit the title, when you delete the save as well, right? So we've reset our high score here. We have, if we were to start the game over again, reset the score on the saved file on the disk as well. That's good. Okay. I think we're good here. I forget how I did that in Bombardier. Did I do that in Bombardier? I assume I did. It's a pretty fundamental thing to have in a game. I don't remember if I did it the same way in there, though. Okay. So the last thing that I think I need, all these 3 cards are finished. I can push them off to the side. But the last thing I think I need is to actually track the level that the player has finished, or at least to track the completion of a level. I really will need to. All right. So each of these levels here in the level metadata struct, each of these is going to have their ID, and each of these are going to, like, when you finish a level, show win screen, self.active save data. I've already forgotten what it was called, but total level cleared. This is going to be set to a max, once again, of whatever value already was there, or self.level.id. You know what? The level struct can just take one parameter to its constructor, and that can be the level data. And instead of level type and level color and all that, we'll just keep a reference to that struct, because it's going to be used for a couple things, I think. All right. Random element from array, level data.meshes. Random element from array, self.level data.meshes. And I think the only other place that this is used is in the draw event, level data.color. Okay, and then when you save, then self.level data.id. And that will keep track of the highest level cleared. So if I were to... is this saved? Is this saved and retrieved, by the way? It is. Okay. If I were to go into the level select screen, and if I were to, from here, just add something to the creation code, I could say, I forget how this works every single time, but I could say, all right, it's the update method. And I'm going to want to set .enabled to false if the player's best level is not greater than or equal to the level ID. I guess each button might as well know which piece of level data it is supposed to correspond to. So this would be game controller.level type string. The room name. Like that. And then we can say self.enabled equals game controller.active save data.highest. What is it? Total level cleared or total level cleared? If this is greater than or equal to level data.id, and also for good measure, what's the text say? All right, the source text just says level 1 or whatever. I also can assign like a proper name. to this level data struct. At this point, I might want to make this a constructor because we're starting to stack on the properties here. Anyway, and then we can say self.text is going to be level data.name. All right. The first button is the only one that's going to have only going to have that code in it. But I will one. If I make this a colon instead of a hyphen, that might look a little better. And also, because it's kind of overflowing the button. Let's say string place level data not name. The substring can be colon followed by a space, and the new string can just be a new line. Okay. Then we can also do the same thing for the other buttons. Creation code. Want to do that here. Level 2 should be disabled until we finish level 1. So there's going to be a nice title here instead of level 1, 2, 3, whatever. Level 2 is grayed out, as it should be. And if I were to defeat this level, I should be able to progress to the second one after this. Alright, new high score, 147, that's cool. If I were to go back to main menu, we still have this grayed out. Why is that? Oh, you know what? I know what it is. So, the ID for room level 1 is 0. In the player save data, the total level cleared is initialized to 0. So when you come over here, is 0 greater than or equal to 0? That's true. So you're able to go into the first level. Then when you clear the level down here, total level cleared is set to a max of the existing value, which is 0, and the ID, which is also 0. And that means that come level 2, save data.total level cleared is 0 is greater than or equal to 1, which is not true. So what we're going to want to do, I think, is when you clear a level, self.level.level data.id plus 1. And that should allow you to progress to the next level. Let me try that again. All right, got a high score of 157 that time. That's pretty nice. Let us go back to the menu. We now can play the woodlands, level 2 woodlands. Okay, that's nice. I don't have any levels besides 1 and 2 right now. I think I'm going to I won't duplicate them. I won't create empty copies of the levels, but I will. Will I? Maybe I will. Let me do that. All right. Let me create empty copies of all these levels. All right, I've done that. These are all just clones of the previous one. I'm going to need to actually organize these because we do use, surprisingly, room go to next. Something I have not done in GameMaker since like 2011. But I will sort these in the hierarchy so that when you go to the next level, you go to the correct next level. Okay. And then for the rest of the buttons, I can just bring this code over. All right, this is gonna be one of those very tedious UI tasks. So I'm just gonna cut away to when I'm done with this because I don't want to be sitting here for longer than I have to. I don't want you to be sitting here for longer than you have to, rather. Okay, and one more thing is that for the sake of testing this game and development, if I am like in the debug config, which is I guess the default config, since there's a default and a release config, I'm going to want to be able to enter any level even if I haven't unlocked it yet because I don't want to have to like continuously play every level to test it. So I added this or debug statement at the end of the self.enabled for each of these levels. And because apparently I didn't have this already, I wrote myself a little macro for whether or not we're debugging the game. And in the release config, that is set to false. Okay. Let's see. Right now, that should actually make it so that all levels are unlocked all the time. And Okay, I do not have level data for all of these. That's right, I didn't do this yet. It's gonna be just another thing that I've gotta grind out. Hang on. Now it exists. Okay. I'm just doing all of the tedious refactoring here. That wasn't even refactoring, that was just adding code to a bunch of different places. Alright, so the ones that haven't been like fleshed out yet, like at all, not that level 2 has really, are like level 12 ellipses or whatever. If I were to run this in the release config, we should have the later ones grayed out. Yeah, like this. Alright, that's the release config. That's how that works. Another thing that I realized after I went through, like, all of those buttons, and I'm probably going to have to go through all of those buttons again, is that instead of saying self.text equals this, I'm going to want self.sourceText to equal this, because that will play better with the translation system. Won't it? Okay, or I can just wrap the whole thing in the L function. Okay. Well. Okay, so the next game that I make like this, I have not decided what it will be yet. I will probably leave it up for a vote. But whatever it's going to be, it's not going to be something that's going to have a level select like this. I do want to make something that's a little bit different. I look forward to not have to write out 12 buttons or 16 buttons or whatever anymore. So let's if I run the game now, I think that's all I wanted to do. For good measure, since this ended up being like a lot of tedious work, and I kind of want to spend less of that, want to spend less time doing that kind of thing going forward. I think I will put this in a constructor of its own. So first, we can say set up the rest of the level navigation. I guess it would have made sense to do that in like week 17 or whatever it was that I did a bunch of the level navigation stuff, but let's see. So this could be, I'll put a constructor for like level metadata at the bottom of this. This can take a name, let's say an ID, which is going to be like 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever. It's going to take a mesh array for the things that you can have in the level, just like that, you know, we were doing that a couple weeks ago, and a background color. That better not be like a reserved keyword. And this is, that's just going to be a little bit of a wrapper for all of this junk. So the name, the ID, mesh is woodlands, and the color. And that is significantly less code than we had before for each one of these, which I think everyone can agree is a bit of a better way to go about this. Okay, apparently I had a duplicate in there somewhere. You saw nothing, so I can get rid of that comment because we don't really need it anymore. Let's see, we have refactored level metadata a little bit. Which I think is very nice. How many lines of code was that reduced by? Went from, that was about 75 lines of code that we took out just by condensing that and deleting the comment. Anyway, I think that is going to do it for today. Let's see, let me just run the game again to make sure that nothing explodes. I don't think it should. All right, nothing exploded. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. If you want the code for this, look for the GitHub repository down in the video description. Look for the 0.21 release. Where am I even going with this sign off? Again, if I don't create the release on recording, I'm going to forget. Where was I? I try to post about 2 game dev videos a week. One, let's make a game like this, and one tutorial. So if any of this kind of thing interests you, or any of the weirder 3D things that you can do in Game Maker interests you, feel free to subscribe. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, look for links to that in all the usual places. You could see some fun things like your name in the credits at the end of every video, and about once a month I post a preview of my future plans. And if you wanted to pledge, I would definitely appreciate it. Otherwise, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Army Armbuster, DJ Gibbles, Edward Holt, Game Maker, Gunnar Clovis, KeyXE, Sindra Larson, Squarecrow, and Zenjamin for supporting these videos. If you want to support this channel yourself, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.